Hello everyone, welcome to today's session on 8 tips to what to do and what not to do in your IT technical interview rounds. So many of you have been requesting us to do a session on what to do on the IT technical interviews and how to crack those, some tips and pointers to help you get across that smoothly as possible. Of course, there's the technical knowledge that you have to go in with, but there are a lot of more factors around a technical interview because there's the stress around what you have to go through and what questions will be asked, how you should dress up, how you should talk, what you should say, what you should not say, more importantly, all those things. So that is what we are going to discuss in this session. And in the last session, some of you requested to take up static and final keywords. So once we are done with all these 8 tips, I'll walk you through what is the use of static keyword in Java and how it works, and as well as the final keyword. I think if I remember correctly, Shubhangi asked me to take it up. So Shubhangi, if you're there, once we are done with these 8 tips, we'll take a look at static and final keywords. Also, there is the link, for those of you who are new, there is a link in the description box for a quiz in which you can go ahead, give in your login details, your name, email ID and some basic information, and just go ahead, go through all the questions, watch the questions that are there on static keyword. So we keep the quiz in sync with the live session. Since the topic of today's live session is tips to ace technical interview, the quiz is based around the static keyword. So you can, after the session, go ahead, take the quiz to understand if you got it right, or you have to go back and read more about static keywords. Alright, so try and keep the session interactive today, guys. Or whatever questions you have around how you should work for your technical interviews, or what you should do, what you should not do, keep posting the questions up here. I'll keep looking at the chat. Not able to hear clearly. I'll see if that can be worked up. Okay, I think most of you are having the noise problem. Let me see if I can get that fixed. So, like I was saying, keep the session interactive. I would like to know what are your concerns around interview rounds, be it technical, be it non-technical, so that we can, talk about it. Hi Manju. Audio with noise, still the audio is with noise. Okay. Give me a second, guys. I'll try to fix the voice quality thing and then go ahead. Meanwhile, I need you guys to keep posting questions around what is, your concerns around the interviews. Technical, non-technical, whatever. I'm hoping the sound is fine now. So, moving ahead. Still not clear for Hari. Okay. Okay, I have one question. What are the subjects to be focused for CSE branch? So for CSE branch, what you need to do is the very basics. That is, first off, there is always one programming language that you have to focus on, right? So whatever the programming language is your main strength, you just put that ahead, be it C, be it C++, be it Java, be it, your database or SQL programming, HTML, web, whatever it is, bring one programming language to focus. Alright, and then once that is done, you can also add on multiple additional languages, because nowadays having grasp on one language isn't enough. So you need to work on multiple languages to build up your base and show that you have a variety of knowledge. The other languages might not be as good as the first primary language that you know of, but try to make it a point that there is one prime language that you focus on, and the others should be kind of, you have dived into those languages and you know the basics of it at least. Also, data algorithms and data structures are the two topics that you shouldn't miss at all. Be you from CSE or IT, information technology, ECE, anything. Data algorithms and data structures are the two subjects that you should always focus on. Okay. Then I have some common program that widely asked in technical round. Okay, Saeed, there are many common programs that are widely asked in technical rounds. Mostly are around arrays, or they are around data structures, they are around pattern problems, etc, etc. So all these questions you can kind of find on our YouTube channels. Just go to the YouTube channel. There is a playlist that you will see that has all these questions, interview questions. So they are in Java as well as on C. You can figure out if you want to take in Java or on C. Then accordingly you can check from there. There's a list around matrix. We have questions. The searching and sorting algorithms, we have questions around data. So all those questions you can go ahead and take a look. If you have any further questions around programming questions that you want to take a look at, then you can post your queries on those videos. Alright, so that way we get to know that what kind of question you are looking at, so we can maybe take it up in the next video that we make, explain to you in the next video that we make. Okay, so I hope the noise problem is resolved now. Vipin is asking, is it necessary to have a good project during the interview? Okay, Vipin, if you are a fresher, it is good to have a good project at your backing that shows that you have worked on end-to-end of any IT project. So you design your own database, you design your own, engine, whatever, Java using or C++ using, and you know how both the layers communicate with each other if you have worked on a project. So that whole knowledge of front to end is really important. All right, and that is what you need to, what essentially a project showcases about you, what languages you know, and yes, that you have worked on one start to end kind of project. All right, so that is why a project is necessary. Okay, can you prefer any course for ECE students? Zain, can you specify which course, what kind of course you are looking at here? Are you talking to a programming language like C, C++? If you are asking something like that, any language, if it is your first language, is good to dive in. I think Python or C would be an easy options, but I would suggest go to Python, since Python is like more in demand these days. So you will be going into something that is relevant in the market at the current time. So if you are asking for programming languages, which I hope you are, then go to Python, start learning Python. It's easy to crack. It doesn't have much of lingo or syntax, etc. like Java. So I think that would reduce your learning time in Python. It's more about logic, how you work around the problems. Okay, next is how to prepare for data structure and algorithm. I mean, how to start. Okay, so anything that you want to start in programming especially, start off by going through some textbooks if you have any, or find a good online content where you can go ahead step by step read through. And once you have read through the content once, like take a chapter for a day or a chapter for 2 days as per your speed, once you do that, the more important thing is practicing. So data algorithms, once you get to know how algorithm functions, the more important thing is put the thought process or the work process behind the actual problem when it is given to you in an interview, right? So when an interviewer asks you that, okay, this is the problem that you have to solve, what logic would you put behind solving this problem? Again, one problem can be solved in multiple ways. If there are 5 people sitting on the bench, 5 people can give you 5 different ways to approach to the similar problem, be it through a programming language or without a programming language, just the algo. So keep in mind that your algos are sharp, your algos are to the point, and they have logical derivations. So you know that if you take this step, you will get this part of the problem done. Then after that, this next step will get this part of the problem done. And then finally, some more steps down the line, you will get your solution. So you should have that logical breakpoints in your mind when you are writing an algorithm, that this is how it should work. So the more you practice, the more you will be able to, work it out. Both data algorithms and data structures. Data structures, more importantly, is the knowledge and the syntax of which data structure to use where. So if you have one programming language, you might want to use a tree. For some other kind of question, a hash map or a map might be more suitable to use. So you should have that understanding of what all properties a tree has and what all properties a map has. So that for any random given question, you should be aware that in this question, I should use a map or I should use a tree, or not both. I should go ahead and use a linked list. So to be aware of which data structure should be used in which problem, you should have the knowledge of what all encompasses in a particular data structure. If we are talking about a linked list, what all surrounds around a linked list? What are the pros of a linked list? What are the cons of using a linked list? What features a linked list provide? So for example, say tree structures. If you have any problem that has this structure of top to bottom approach, you have to have a parent and you have to have child, so you'll go for a tree. If you have to have linking of key map values, you'll maybe go for a map, right? So depending on your questions, you will have to choose for data structures. So for both of those, data algorithms and data structures, go to a good source, a textbook or online, start reading and then start practicing. The more you practice, the more your thinking process will evolve for both of these data structures as well as data algorithms. Okay, so next one. All right, what are the subjects to be focused on for mechanical branch? So any person out of IT or CSE branch wanting to move into a technical round, technical interview basically, all the subjects that need to be focused on remain same to your branch, because they are aware of that you are coming from a mechanical branch or you are coming from an electrical electronics branch. They know that is there in your resume. But even then, I think C is a very common language that is taught in the first year of most of the engineering colleges. So C you should be aware of. If additionally you are going to get trained yourself in any additional programming languages, I would suggest Python. Go for Python, or if you have the time, go for Java. Okay, I am an ENTC engineering student in BE, but I'm interested in programming and I want to do my career in software field. Okay, so Abhishek, it's good to hear that you want to get into software field and you want to have a career in software field. I hope you all the best and good luck, and don't be, don't feel disheartened or don't feel boggled down by all that is there in programming. It's fairly easy. I think it's the easiest branch in engineering colleges. We used to have a lot of fun with computer science back in our college days. So it's pretty easy. Just give it time. Give it a day, an hour a day if you have an hour a day, or give it 2 hours a day if you have 2 hours a day. Whatever free time you can diligently, regularly give to programming, try to do it. Make sure that you practice a lot and make sure that you are regular with your work at programming. That is what is going to help you. Nagesh says, I'm actually EEE student. I want to join in IT field. What course should I join? Again, I think I have answered this before. I would recommend Python for anyone trying to learn the first programming language. But if you have already learned any one of the programming languages in your first years or second year, maybe you can go ahead and brush that up first before moving on to something else. All right. I have some knowledge of Java and C only. What more should I focus on? So, okay, some knowledge of Java and C doesn't work, Abhishek. If you know Java, you should know in and out of Java, or if you know C, you should be confidently able to say in your interview that yes, I know this language, you can ask me anything on this particular language. So I would recommend that instead of moving on to some other language, kind of make the existing languages work perfectly for you, so that if any question is asked around those languages, you're confidently able to say that yes boss, I know it, I can do it, I can show it to you. All right, make sure that you have these strong points. Okay, all right. Then Arshia has asked, can you please tell me which course should be done for bank jobs? Arshia, for bank jobs, I don't think you need programming. More importantly, you have to focus on your reasoning and quant kind of stuff. So for that, we have sessions, live sessions on every Fridays. So you can join those sessions. You'll get to know more about how to work out your quant or how to work out your reasoning for bank exams. I think bank exams are more about getting the questions, so and so amount of questions right in a particular time frame. It's more about how quick you are with what you know. So I think it will be really good for you if you join one of those sessions, so that you get to know what is actually asked in those bank exams. Okay. Prepare for data structures and algorithms we have taken up already. If I'm from VC background, then what should I focus on is already done. Okay, which type of projects impress more? Any kind of project, I think you should be aware of what you have done in the project. If any questions is asked around project, if you mention that I have done some library setup project or some voice project, etc., etc., there are multiple variety of projects out there. You can just go ahead in your college libraries. You will find a plethora of projects done by your seniors already to take some inspiration out from. But the crux is, don't just do it for the sake of doing it or showing it that I have done this. Actually work on it so that you know what you have done. If any question at all is asked around your project, you should be aware of what goes on in the project. Okay. Then I have one, my maths is very bad, but programming language is a few good. Maths is really bad. Okay. Maths, and you don't have to connect the two. Programming languages are more about your problem solving ability, your algorithm finding ability, your I would rather say your knack of finding the right solution. Everything else, I think the program does for you. All you have to do is, if I have to reach from step A to step B, what route, way best possible should I take to reach from A to B is what a good programmer thinks. Rest of it, programming language will do for you. You just have to tell them, okay, do this for me. They'll do it for you. There are inbuilt methods in all programming languages that do half the work these days that you have to do. So once you learn the syntax of any programming language, you get a hang of it, and then all you have to worry about is, I need to solve this problem in this much amount of time with these many resources. How do I do it? That is how programmers in corporate world think. They don't worry about what the solution is going to be or how it's going to work. They then start worrying about, boss, this is working in 5 minutes. I want to get it worked up in 1 minute or 1.5 minutes. So how do I reduce that time? So you'll get to that later, but as freshers, I think maths, you don't have to worry about if your maths is not really good. There are math libraries and functions that will help you with that. If your programming is fine, you're good to go. Okay, which courses are best for commerce students to get a job? Again, if it is IT job, Java, Python, C, C++ should work for you. But if it is a non-IT job, then you need to check out on the right platform, because commerce I cannot really help you with. For programming, yeah, please go ahead, work on your vocabulary, work on your confidence, work on your programming, reasoning. Those are the things that will really help you if you are going for a programming interview. All right. Is it compulsory to join internship after third year vacation? No, not really compulsory. The best option for commerce grade. Okay, wow, Rohit has answered a question for you. So you can maybe join his session next time. He'll help you understand both. For banking guys, please. I cleared OCPGP. Which concepts in Java would probably I'll encounter in the interview? Congratulations on clearing the certification, Deepak. The certification, I think, is for, if I remember correctly, it used to be for basics of Java. And I think if you're going to sit in an interview, you should now prepare for advanced Java as well. So your maps, your linked list, all those things should be clear in and out. You should have good understanding of what kind of file input output structures work well, and most importantly, if now you have cleared that, you should be aware of complexities, space complexity, time complexity, all those things, one step ahead of your certification. You should be aware of what all entails next. So of course, since the certification is through, it is expected that you know the basics. So if any question around that is asked, you should be pretty confident about that. But other than that, maps list, linked list, file input output kind of questions, those is what you need to focus on. All right. (2012) pass out, but now I want to start my career in software field. So which course will help me? Okay, course, people, anything, like I said, I'm repeating it again. C, C++, Java, Python, whatever course you want to pick, just pick one, but make sure that you are aware of what is going to be in and out of it. So when a question is thrown at you in an interview, you should look at the question and you should be able to say it then and there that yes, I know it, or sorry boss, I don't know it. So I have not read it or whatever, I'm not aware of it, I'll go back, check it out. That understanding should be, don't try to fake it in the interview, because it's pretty evident if you try to make something work and you are not really aware of it. I recently got a job as programming coach. Congrats, Raja. Can you suggest me how to teach programming to students to get logic? Okay, this is an interesting one. I'm not sure how to answer this, Raja. How to teach programming? See, one thing is that you should let your students experiment with programming. Even if they are doing wrong, I feel that they are learning in a way. So if they are writing a program, say they get a compilation error or they get a runtime error, they'll know it the next time when they write a code like that, that for this particular program, if I do this, I get this error. So that is kind of a path that every student takes toward learning. Let them grow, let them explore, let them decide their own journey. But at the same time, you be there to guide them whenever they need you, and you be there to show them the right path. So if they are getting stuck in one particular topic, maybe help them out. If they are going in the wrong direction, maybe tell them that, okay, this is not where you have to focus on, but this is the part where you need to focus on. And if you get this right, the other half will automatically follow. Okay? Okay. Avinash, I'm BSc Computer Science graduate. Career options in IT sector. There are multiple career options in IT sector. You can go ahead, be a Java developer, you can be a support engineer, you can be get into testing if you like doing that. If you like finding faults in the programs, you can try your luck in testing. You can get into program designing. If you don't actually really like coding, you can go ahead and get into the designing part of it. That is also pretty exciting for some people. And I guess that is where many people find their real calling after 6-7 years down the line of working. So you can try project management kind of jobs. Might be a bit difficult to get into for freshers or for starters, but yeah, that is also one of the options. All right, if I'm not comfortable with competitive coding, is it negative for me? For companies like TCS, Infosys, Wipro, etc. I'm not sure, Deepak, what would make you not comfortable with competitive coding. If you are aware of the programming language that you are working on, it should be fairly simple and easy for you. Just keep practicing and get your confidence back up. I think it would be really, big disadvantage for you if you lose out on companies like TCS, Infosys, Wipro. We might get some better options, but you should at least go ahead, give a try to these companies, and might just work out for you. Vipin says, what do you think about the Java frameworks? Which framework is best among Spring, Struts, Hibernate, and web services? Okay, there's no best or worst among these. All of them are like really important frameworks, and many companies specifically ask for Spring and Hibernate. It would be mentioned in the job profile that we are looking for professionals who can deal with Spring or who can deal with Hibernate. But coming back to your question that which framework is best, I think if you are aware of Spring and Hibernate, it's good enough, because it's considered that if you know either one of these, it's really easy to move on to the others or learn about the others. So Spring, Hibernate should do for starters, and once you are through that, you can maybe go ahead and dive into struts and web services. Okay, which is best, .NET or Java? That, Rahul, is really a trick question actually, but I would say, judging by the current market standards, the demand of the language that is most used at current time, 2017, the current surveys, I think Java is more in demand than .NET. So your prospects of getting a good job after you are through with Java are higher than after you're through with .NET. So if that is where you're looking at, the end goal, I think, again, is getting a nice job and enjoying the perks of an IT company. So I would say go for Java. Okay, about Vikram is asking about Android development. What about Android development? Good to know that you people are aware of all these things, Android development, etc., etc. And nice. So Android development is the latest technology. There's too much hype about Android development. All these web technologies, Android development, Hadoop, etc. are the current technologies that are trending in the market. So if you are aware of any of these technologies, it's a huge plus in the resume, and you open gates to multiple job openings that just filter half the resumes that don't know Android development. So if you have that in your resume, you are automatically one round closer to your job. Okay, Sahil, I'm sorry I missed your question. I am good in Java, but in Java, collection framework is not good. How to cover it? Okay, collection framework, I would say go ahead, use your IDE, whatever you prefer, Eclipse or NetBeans or any other. If you're using an online tool to practice Java, go ahead, go there, and one by one just start typing in all the collections. So you'll see in Eclipse, you get, if you use any existing library function and you type that function, you get a small help box when that function is typed on the screen. That help box lists all the essential details that you need to be aware of about the function. The input parameters that it take, the return type of the function, the body of the function, what the function actually does. Everything, every little detail that you need to be aware of comes in that help box, right? So I would suggest pick up a program and start typing, start doing it on your own. And once you do that, once you figure out something, or let's say not figure out something, in the process you will see that you are using some functions of Java that you can go ahead, take a look at the help box, and you'll learn from it. Okay, this function is doing this particular thing. I want to do XYZ. The function is doing ABC. So you'll get to know. The next time you want to do ABC, you will recall that that particular function could do ABC. So the more you actually type in on the screen in your IDE and you see what a function is doing, the more it will be easier for you to understand that this collection, this how it works. So instead of, I would not say go to the book and read the text or go online and read what the collections are doing. I would say go online, search for questions on collections. And once you do that, whatever the first 2-3 links you get, take them up one by one, check the question, start writing your own program. Obviously the answers would be there online for you if you have any trouble finding the solution. But before looking at the solution, go back to the IDE and start practicing. Okay, Bhargav says, I want to join Oracle. Which language should I learn? Of course, SQL and Java. Both are Oracle languages now. So both you should be aware of. If nothing else, Oracle is, I think, currently working on application development framework, but that is a more advanced version of Java. And that I think you'll get to know once you get in Oracle. They'll train you on it. So for getting into Oracle, I think you have to have data structures, data algorithms, Java and SQL. I think in my 5-6 rounds, these were the 4 languages that they focused on. How to get into product-based companies. More solid knowledge of programming is how you get into product-based companies. They grill you for 3 to 4 rounds of interviews and they try to extract as much as possible out of you before they decide that you're fit for the company. So try to make it work that way. Don't break down. And if you don't know, again, I would say if you don't know a particular question, don't try to give stupid answers in the interviews, because that just comes through very clearly. Your interviewer is sitting right next to you on the table, so just don't try to fake it. If you don't know it, if it is not a logical question, if it is a technical question, theoretical question about the language, don't make up stories around the question just to give up some answer. Just say that you don't know about this particular concept and you'll go back and learn it. That's as simple as that. All right, fine. So let's start with the session then. 8 tips to ace technical rounds of IT interviews. So starting off with the very first. Be enthusiastic. So once you are in the interview, I think the very first impression is what matters a lot, and that is where you can make the most of your time. Even before you enter into the interview room, you can make a really good impression at your interviewer, and I think there are 60 to 70% chances that if you have impressed your interviewer, he'll hire you, even if you have, not given the right answers as per his expectations. If he sees that you are enthusiastic enough to learn, enthusiastic enough for the company, for the team, for the position that you have applied for, and you are willing to learn, that is what makes or breaks your interview. So be energetic, be enthusiastic, try to be all pumped up and happy to be there for your interview. That is the first and foremost tip that I would like to give you all. Don't be drab, don't be lethargic, don't be low on energy. If the interview is on Saturday, I see many a time students come up with those sad faces that why the hell this interview is on Saturday and why I had to come all the way from my home to this location to give the interview. Don't do that. That clearly shows on the face, and that clearly tells how you approach to problems. So make sure that you are happy about being there, happy about being a part of the company, happy about everything that the company entails in projects, the mission, the vision, etc. Make sure that you have a thorough research done. If not a thorough research done, at least the basic research done about what the company does, what is the company's vision, or what is the company's mission, so that if any questions around those are asked, you should be able to say that you have been waiting for this interview and you have been wanting to join the company and you are aware of all these things. So focus your energies in the right direction. Even if it's one round of interview, it's 2 rounds of interview, sometimes technical interview, I would say, especially in the product based companies, goes all through the day. You'll start off in the morning at 8 and you'll spiral down multiple round of interviews, 2 or 3 or 4 or even 5 at times, and you'll be there giving an interview till 8 in the evening. So don't get bogged down, and every moment of your time when you are in the company is an interview. It's not just when you are in the interview room, it's also when you are waiting out in the lobby, it's also when you are in the pantry having a coffee, it's also if you are in the cafeteria having lunch. Treat every moment as your moment and be in the moment. Enjoy the moment that you are there when you are not in the interview room, and when you are in the interview room, be focused and energetic and again enthusiastic about you being there. All right. Next is common interview concepts. So like many of you have already asked, there are some common interview concepts that are mostly asked in almost all technical rounds. Some of them being data algorithms, searching, sorting, data structures, arrays. For freshers, arrays is one of the most frequently asked interview topic. Could be multidimensional array, could be 2D array, could be 3D array. There are problems around arrays that are always asked, especially for freshers in technical round of interviews. Also, as I said before, keep a strong hold on your algos. It is not always necessary that they'll ask you to write the solution of a program in a certain programming language. They might not ask you to write the syntax for it, they just might want to know how you approach the problem, how you derive the solution. So data algorithm is what can be or should be your strongest suit and should be your savior in almost all technical interviews. And I think once you are confident about topics like data algorithm and data structures, that confidence actually builds up, so that will reflect in your syntax problems as well. If you have to write actual code and run it on a PC, which might be very highly likely these days, it would actually build up your confidence and give you the boost of energy to write the right code. So make sure that you have all these concepts covered, and there are plenty of platforms and blogs and websites out there where you can find questions on all these topics. So go ahead, prepare well on these basic interview concepts. Next one is your communication with the interviewer. So when you are in an interview, it's quite a chance that it is a one-on-one interview and your interviewer is sitting just right next to you on the table. And the way that you communicate with him is what makes your impression on the interviewer. It's I think I would say 60% more your impression, how you project yourself, and 40% of what you're actually doing. So out of the 40%, you have to be, I would say, good for you if you are 40%, but if you're not 40%, at least make sure that you are 30% of that. But make sure that you nail the rest 60%. That is what would, matter the most. The moment you meet your interviewer and you start talking to him about, giving your brief introduction or telling where you're from, giving your introduction of your college or your previous job if you are switching jobs, all those things really create a good or bad impression about you. So your energy, your voice pitch, how positive you are when you're talking about your past employer, how positive you are when you're talking about your own abilities, how clear you are when you're talking about what you know and what you don't know. It is good to assume that you know things, but it is also very useful and helpful when you know that, this shit I'm not aware of. And the fact that I know that I don't know it, that means that I can figure it out how to do it. If you ignore it, that I know everything, then you cannot help it, right? So the awareness that I know this and I don't know this is really important in a technical interview. And then comes your confidence with which you communicate with your interviewer. So make sure that all your communication with your interviewer is flawless, smooth, clear and real. I would say real being the most important part of it, because trust me, they have taken multiple interviews in their lifetimes, and it's very easy for them to figure out fake from real. So make sure that you are very real in your interview and confident in your interview. That is what would take you forward. And if you're solving, generally when they have given you a problem and you're down there on your table, if let's say it's not a PC interview, you're sitting on a table and you have to write some algorithm or you have to write some program, try to communicate with your interviewer to ask more questions around the same. So if he has given you something, some input variables are missing or some output pattern is missing, inquire about it, that how this output should look like, what you want me to take this input parameter value as. When you are writing your pseudocode or when you are writing your algorithms, keep talking to him that this is the approach that I am taking and this is how it will result in the problem. Generally, when you do that, most of the time, if you do it right, you might get the right tips and pointers along the way from your interviewer himself that will let you know that this part was right and this is where I have to turn it a bit. Don't straight ahead go on to writing the solution of your problem. Try to engage your interviewer at least for the starting 30 seconds. That will help you a lot in making your impression as well as getting the answer right. So communication, I would say, is a really important key. All right, next is personality questions. So by personality questions, I mean questions like greatest strength, worst weakness, your 5-year plan, why you're trying to take this job, a brief about yourself, why you're leaving your current job. When you're answering all these questions that don't have a solid yes or no kind of answers, be the most genuine person that you can be. Be positive, and especially in the last question, when you are asked why you are leaving your current job, don't ever blame someone else for leaving your job. That leaves a very bad impression of yourself in the interview. You're leaving the job because the next job is good enough, that is what you want to do, that is where you see yourself in the next 5 years, etc., etc. Try to frame positive answer around this last question especially. Okay, I have a few. Fine. And then be ready for different style of interviews. So these days it's not quite uncommon to see phone interviews. Before the company actually decides that you are worthy of being called at their actual location, wherever the company is located, it is quite often seen that they make you go through a phone screen interview or an online interview. So for both of these interviews, make sure that you have the right set of mind. Don't keep delegating your phone interviews or online interviews. That makes a very bad impression. So once you committed to a time that okay, I'll take a phone call with you at this particular time, make sure that you give the right perfect time at the very first place, and then make sure that you are at a quiet lonely place where you can have a nice decent conversation with your interviewer. These phone screen and online interviews are less of deciding whether they'll hire you or not, but more of a filter. Okay, this will reject, this will reject. Those kind of filter operations work on the phone screens and online. So you don't have to freak out if you have been asked for a phone interview. Just be confident enough that you have to just communicate right and object right. Mostly the questions asked in phone screen and online interviews are generally theoretical questions, so that also is a plus point there. And if at all they share some programming questions, that would be in a controlled environment kind of space where you will be given some time limit, that in the next 15 minutes this is the link, go to this link, solve this problem. So just be calm and composed. Like I said, be in a noise-free, spaced out environment where you can focus and just type your solution. More than getting the answer right, again, they'll look at your approach, what you have done in the 15 minutes. These situations might sometimes create a lot of stress for some people, but they are very easy to pass through. And I think once these phone or online interviews are through, the next is your standard table one-on-one kind of interview. And sometimes this one-on-one kind of interview extended to chains. First round, second round could get into a panel. So don't freak out if there are 3 people sitting on the table next to you, because it's quite a chance that if you don't impress one, you will impress the other 2. So that is again a plus point for you. So be all positive, be all happy no matter what kind of interview is thrown at you. Okay? So phone screen, online, standard, and then the panel interview. Kind of a different approach for all the 4, but essentially they are trying to weed out the negative options till they figure out that yeah, this is the best one. Dress right. If it is a standard interview, or even if it is an online interview, you are getting into a Skype call with your interviewer, dress right. I would say power dressing if possible. Shirt, tie, there you can never do too much in an interview. And don't do the mistake of going in shorts if you are going for interview to a startup or something. The startup culture might be that they go in informal shorts and t-shirts, but you being an interviewee, just make the best of it. Don't give any chance to anyone to reject you. So be your best self, dress your best self when you are going for an interview. All right? And finally, the don'ts. Like I said, be genuine, be real, don't lie, because that is the worst mistake that you will do in an interview. Your resume is out there, your bios, profiles are all up on the internet for everyone to see. If you don't know anything, don't fake it. Just say it out loud that I don't know it, because it's pretty evident if the next moment they give you a program and you are not able to write a program pertaining to that particular language or that particular concept, you're screwed. So don't get yourself into that position. If you just make it a clear distinction in your head that this is what I won't get into, and keep to it. All right? Don't defend yourself about anything. Most of the time when a student gets into a conflict with the interviewer, they are sometimes just trying to test your knowledge. So they'll give you wrong options, or they'll give you wrong analogies to work out with the best of the confidence that they can, and that can be sometimes very intimidating. But don't get intimidated by it, and don't, even if you're not sure, don't try to defend yourself. Don't try to put your point through when you know that it could be wrong. If you're 110% sure that yes, what I'm doing is how it's done, be confident in your own subtle, smart way and project it. But otherwise, just back off. If you get into that heated conversations with the interviewer, it just doesn't go in the right direction at times. And the next, don't be afraid. Don't have that I'm exhausted, or I'm sad, or I'm freaked out about this interview expression on your face. The interview is the time when you have to be the best actor that you can be. Project yourself as a happy, confident human being, even if you are not. I can understand that you might be scared if it is your first interview, or if it is your first interview in a big MNC, or if it is your first interview after a very long while. It is genuinely okay to be scared, but you don't have to show it. You should not show it on your face. Drink water, be on time, do all the right things that you can to keep those expressions off your face. All right, so those are the 3 most important don'ts that I would say you should remember. And finally, practice. I cannot stress more on it. If you are going for a written technical exam, you have to practice a lot. If you are going for interview, you should have practiced a lot already. And for the interview as well, it would be really nice for your practice if you go through some interview questions online. Try to rehearse in front of the mirror how your body language is going to be, how you're going to pose, and how you're going to answer some certain questions, like the questions we saw. What's your strength? Figure it out in advance. Don't be tricky at the moment or creative at the moment and give them the answers then and there. Try to have your answers ready in advance so that you can easily, smoothly project it out when your interview panel is right in front of you. All right, so those were the 8 tips. I hope they would be of help to you. Try to make a note of it, or try to, as I said, practice on these. I'll go back to the questions, and then I'll come back to your questions that you asked me on the last session, static keyword and final keyword. All right, so before I do that, can you give example video for the interviews? Okay, the example video for interviews are present on our YouTube channels, so you can go back to the channel and you can search for interview questions, and I'm pretty sure you'll find a good load of questions and answers kind of videos on the channel, where we'll be telling you how to answer and how not to answer certain kind of questions. And if there's any particular question that you want to know, that how should I answer this question, you can leave a comment on this particular video, and we'll try to get back to you on that. All right, what else do we have here? How to show to recruiters that you have good knowledge. You have to have good knowledge to show to recruiters that you have good knowledge. But other than that, keep a smiling, happy face. Be confident about yourself and what you're doing there. Be aware of your surrounding. Be aware of the company that you are going to. At times it so happens that people are going for an interview and they don't even know what the position is they are applying for. So be aware of all those things. Be aware of the company's vision, mission, CEO, CO. Good to have all these things handy when you're going for an interview. Shows that you are making an effort for this particular interview. So yeah, all those things, and you're good. Dress right, make, and like I said, be the best actor that you can be. Make an impression of you that they cannot forget. Even if you are not the best in technical knowledge, you should be the best in communicating. You should be the best in being confident and enthusiastic. That works most of the times. Okay, what else? How can we apply for product-based companies? I think there are many portals out there like Naukri, etc., where you can apply for products, or I think LinkedIn also these days you can apply for interviews if there is an opening on LinkedIn. Make sure you have a good profile up on LinkedIn. That is where major recruiter firms that have tie-ups with product companies go ahead and look into. So it's good to have a good LinkedIn profile showing all your connections and showing all your technical strengths, non-technical strengths as well. Do that. Keep your profiles updated on all these platforms. And if you have any friends in any product companies, go ahead, go for a referral if you can get one. And okay, I am from this department, that you are free from me, but why you are entering into IT companies? It should be, Harsha, it should be your own choice to enter into IT companies. If you want to enter, if you like programming, please go ahead. If you don't like programming, it can be the worst mistake that you will make. So don't get into something that you don't really like. If you really want to do it, please give it a go. Java beginner series over. No, the Java beginner series is not over, Shubhangi. I'm really sorry that there is no update on that, but there is next week. The next video is planned to be uploaded sometime next week, so keep watching the space. There are, I think, another 10 more videos coming up in that particular series, so keep an eye there. And I hope that the series, if I know that you're watching it, I hope it is helping you. If you have any doubts or queries again in either of those beginner series videos, make sure you drop a comment below. All right. Okay, what else? What's the best answer we can say when HR asks about our entry into IT companies, though we are from different branches? Okay, HR won't ever ask you this question, that why you are entering into IT companies if you are from a different branch, because 60% of the IT strength, be it from any company, would go into IT at the end. So that question you would never expect from an HR, but even if you do, it's fairly simple, that IT companies are really nice and good to look at for the beginning. The salary is nice. You can be plain forward straight in your answer to that one. So yeah. Okay, Python series. Okay, I cannot commit on Python series, but yeah, I'll keep this in mind that you're looking up for Python series. Anything that comes up, get subscribed to the channel. You'll get to know if a Python series is coming out soon. How to prepare for network for interview? I am hoping you are asking about data networks. Please, Sunil, can you please clarify what you need to know? Networks for interview. I cannot make much out of this. Should we start career as a Java developer or as a full stack developer? From it's not really much of a choice, Abhishek. You can start as you want to start. If you have knowledge of full stack, you should go ahead for full stack. Node.js is a really nice technology that is booming now. Might go even more up in the charts or might not, but as per the current status, it is a really nice technology to be aware of. So if you are aware of Java and you are looking forward to what next you should be doing, I think Node.js is a good easy option. A week or so you should be through with the full stack developer thingy. So I think if you have time, go ahead, do that. Or if not, then Java is also good enough. All right. Can you give us any tips on how to prepare our resumes? Okay, that would be a really lengthy topic to discuss right now, but I would say make it short, simple. Say all the essential things that you have to. Since you are a fresher, you would have to mention your percentages, etc. You have to mention your projects. Don't skip out on the extracurricular activities that you do. That section is my personal favorite, so mention that as well. That gives more personality to your resume. And yeah, take the latest format. I think formats keep changing, so pick up the latest format where you have your name at the top and then your address and phone number, right? So take the latest layout and format. Keep it concise, clear and simple. Don't try to throw all rubbish into the resume. It makes it difficult for the interviewer to read it. So one look at your resume, he should be aware of who you are. Alright, so try to make your resume that way. Alright, computer network. Computer network, if you are up for a technical interview, computer network is not what they would deal with mostly. If specifically only computer network is what you have mentioned in your resume, then I think the very basic topics of the networks, you have that data networks book, computer networks book, the very basic, I think 4 to 5 initial chapters of that book are good enough, the syllabus book. So yeah, and more importantly, I think if you're looking for IT interview, network won't just help you. You have to have a programming language added to this computer network. So try to work on that as well. About Internet of Things. Okay. That Internet of Things is, you simply don't have to worry about being a fresher. I think if you go into an interview, okay, yeah, from this Internet of Things, coming back to your resume, if you don't have knowledge of some particular technology, don't mention it in the resume. You can point it out while you are sitting in the interview that apart from the technologies that I have mentioned in the resume, I'm aware of this as well. But don't write those additional things that you are just aware of in the resume in advance. So things like computer network, etc. If these are the technologies, IoT, things like these, don't put them down in your resume. Just let the interviewer know it right there face to face that okay, I'm aware of this as well. That again adds up a few points into your interview rounds. How do I prepare for company hiring for R&D portfolio? Same thing, if they are into R&D, they'll want you to be more sharp with your programming skills rather than theoretical skills. So interviewers generally ask you about what is object-oriented programming, difference between polymorphism, etc. All these sort of questions are there in interviews. But when you get to the job, you'd never ever go back to what is polymorphism, what is overwriting, inheritance, etc. You actually practically work on it. So for R&D companies, your practical learning of all these concepts should be really nice. If you are not aware of the definition, nobody gives a shit. But if you are not actually able to program, you are out in the first round. So make sure that you practice, you do a lot of programming, not just what is there on the internet. Try to tweak the programs, make your own programs, do as much variations in programming practice while you are doing as you can, and try to write more lengthy programs involving multiple classes, etc. That would also help you crack those interviews. All right, have you know any good career in VB, Daily Blogger? Okay, Visual Basic, I'm not very sure of how trending it is these days, because like I said about .NET, these technologies are kind of taking a toll in the market right now. So there isn't much out there for VB and .NET, but yeah, you can still explore the options. Get your resume up on all the online portals that give you a list of openings, and you can give it a go. But I'm not very happy about the market that these languages have. Can I create my own project and host it for interview purpose? Of course you can create your own project and host it for interview purpose. That would be like the best thing to do. You can go ahead and show off yourself. Can I revise data structures, algorithms, OS, DBMS in 10 days for technical aptitude? You can revise it in 1 day if you know it. There is no time boundaries to revising it. Data structures, algorithm should ideally take 2 days each. OS, DBMS 1 day each. So I think, yeah, under 10 days you can easily revise all these topics for your technical aptitude. But then again, depending on how good your knowledge of these subject is. All right, I'm saying these, giving you these numbers, assuming that you have good knowledge of all the 4 in advance. Grape City campus placement. How to crack Grape City campus placement? Like any other placement, it is just fairly simple and easy to crack. Just be confident, be smart, know your thing, and then you're good to go. All right, what else? Does masters play a role for growth in IT industry, or one can reach top ladder through bachelor's and specializations only? One can definitely reach top ladder through bachelor's and specializations only. That is for sure. But yeah, if you go give 2 years to your masters, it also adds off and pays off. It's not a mandate. You can of course always reach the top ladder even without it. All right, please, Raghav has a question. What should I learn before I give interviews? Raghav, I think I answered that. Full stack is a good option to have because it's the trending technology. I think apart from full stack, if you're looking for something, Python would be a good go. So go to Python, or Android development is also booming these days because most of the companies are getting into an Android app, or there are companies that just make Android apps. So since mobile and apps are the new in thing, Android technology could also be a good platform for you to dive into. How important is programming skill for non-IT students wanting to work in IT industry? You're going to IT industry, programming skills are really important. How important? They might not test you as harsh as they would a programming background student, but yeah, it's still very important. So make sure that you are aware of whatever programming technology that you are going to get into. All right, on that note, let me get back to the questions that you guys asked. Shubhangi asked me to explain what is static keyword, and I think we suggested that we'll take Python as well. I'll get back to your questions after we are done with the session. All right. So, static keyword can be used with either one of these things. So either it be a variable, either it be a method, block of code, or a nested class. All right, these are the 4 things that can have a static keyword attached to them. Now what do we mean by static keyword? Whenever we say a variable is static or a method is static, or either of these, all that it means is that any of these variables would have a single sharing happening. All right, that means that if there is a class, let's say C1, and you have multiple objects of this class, let's say B1, B2 and B3. So all these 3 objects will have different instance variables. But if there is a static variable in your class, let's say I equals to 20, this static variable would remain the same for all the objects that you create. So basically, when you say a variable is static, it means that it is a class variable. It is not a object variable. It will not change depending on what object you are creating. It will remain same for all the objects. So anything static is made keeping in mind that it will remain common for any object of the class. For example, very simple example I will give to you. Let's say you have to make an employee class. All right, it would have all the properties like employee name, date of birth, salary, etc., etc., etc. kind of details would be there. Now in this employee details, there could be something called company name. Fine. Now this company name would remain same for all the employees. So if you create employee 1, 2, 3, 50, 100, 250, the company name is going to remain the same. So this company name is what can be made as static. Why we do that? It saves memory space, it saves time when you are creating an object. Since once a class is loaded, static variable is out there. So next time whenever an object is created, it will automatically go ahead and refer to it, right? Or let's say for example you have a student class, right? So again, roll number, batch, department, etc., etc. College name, if you have it inside your student class, although it doesn't make sense in real time, but if you have it, this field is what would go as static. All right, so any real life situation when you see like this, where some field of your class has to be common to all the objects that are created from that class, those variables become static variables. Now what does static method do? A static method is loaded onto memory as soon as the program is loaded into the JVM. So anything static in method would be whatever you want to be loaded instantly as soon as the class is loaded. So it could, all that it could do could be initializing your static variables, for example. So anything related to that would go into static method. Now again, block of codes are also used for initializations. So a static block of code would simply look like this, and your lines of code. There has to be no name and nothing, just curly braces, and then whatever you want to do inside, you put it inside this static block of code. Now again, this static block of code also serves the same purpose, can be used for initialization, can be used for running a few lines of code that you want to run before your actual program starts, right? And coming back to static method, we have seen that our main method declaration is something like this: public static void main, right? This is the declaration of our main method. So now you know why it is static. You don't create an object of main method to access the variables or access the methods of the main. Main is the first thing that is loaded or started when you run a program. How is that? Because it is a static method. You don't need any object to refer to a static method. Also keep one thing in mind: the non-static data members or methods can refer to the static variables, but anything static cannot refer to your non-static variables. So in this static block of code, you cannot call any instance variable, you cannot refer to any instance variable inside this. It will result in a compilation error. Fine. That is one very important thing to keep in mind. Any programming questions that come around these variables, this is where students make the most mistake, because they are not aware of the fact that anything static cannot refer anything non-static. Now moving on to the final nested class thing. So nested class, when we talk about, you have a primary class, let's say A, and inside this you have a class B, right? This is your simple structure of a nested class, also known as inner class, right? Now what would a static nested class look like? You have a class, let's say X, and inside this you have a static class Y. So this is your static nested class when you have a static keyword. Remember, your outer class can never be a static class. Only the inner class can be static. Alright? Never it can happen that you put static here and it works. It will throw you a compilation error. So if any question like that is asked, you can clearly point out the right option. Fine. Now in both of these, inner class needs outer class reference to work, but a static nested class does not need a reference of outer class. It won't need an object of class X to work. It can work on its own, right? And then another important thing is inner class can access static and non-static members of outer class. So if you have int ABC initialized to something, and then you have static int XYZ initialized to something, this inner class can access both of these, ABC and XYZ. But when we come to the static inner class, if you have same variables here, ABC and static int XYZ, right? Now in the static class, as I said before, it will be able to access only the static variables. So only XYZ variable can be referenced inside here. The ABC, if you try to access it inside this class, it will again throw you compilation error. So that was about your static variable, method, block of code, nested class. Alright, anything that has to be shared between all the objects of a class goes as static. Now many times students confuse it with the final keyword. Now why do we use final keyword? Again, I'll start off with what all you can use a final keyword with. A variable can be final, a method can be final, and a class can be final. Alright, now let's take a look at all these one by one. What does it mean when any of these is final? So a final variable means that the value of the variable is constant. So if you say final x, y, z is equals to 20, this value cannot change in your program down the line. This will remain the same. This is the final value and you cannot change it. So anything like if you have let's say a class called car, alright, and inside this class called car you have something, the speed limit. So the speed limit can be a final concept. Since the speed limit is not going to change, a car whatever the speed limit a car has will be constant, right? So the speed limit can go as a final variable. Now a final method, again the same thing. If you create a method as final, you can never override it. You cannot change the working of this method. So if there is a method that has been created as final, whatever is there inside this method, that is all the piece of code that you have. You cannot change it by overriding it in another class. Alright, so that is there. And more importantly, about when you're talking about a final method, it cannot also be used to work for static or instance variable. A final method should ideally be written to work with only the final variables, or to do some piece of code that is a one-time thing happening in your whole program, how many ever classes that you are referring to. Alright, and finally, final class. So when you say a final class, it means that this class cannot be extended by other class. Let's say this is class B. Now if I try to do class A extends B, this is a wrong statement. You cannot extend a final class. When a class is final, it is there to exist on its own. It cannot be extended by any other class. Alright, and one more thing I would like to mention when I am talking about final here is, there are times when you will create a final variable and not initialize it. Alright, you can see a piece of code in your program when you have created a final variable which is not initialized, which is generally referred to as blank final variable. Alright, so the use of this blank final variable is to make sure that whenever an object is created and the constructor is called, then that constructor should be focusing on the initialization of the variable. Alright, based on the object called and the constructor you are using to create the object, that should decide which value to be given to the final variable. Cool. So that was about final. Now I hope you understood the difference between static and final. Static is simply when the instances are shared between multiple classes or multiple objects of the same class, and final is for something that remains constant throughout your program. So the value is not changing, better make it final, right? Now coming back to the questions that you have here, I think there isn't anything for me. You're good there. Go to the description link that we have on the video. You can take the quiz. That's around static mostly, and you'll get to know what kind of questions, be it programming or theoretical multiple choice questions, can pop up in your exams. I see Deepak has asked a question. I'm good at technical concepts, suppose, but my resume is empty in the field of academic achievements and position of responsibilities. How much it impacts for Indian IT companies? It does not impact you in a bad way, but can't be that those sections are empty. I'm sure if you have done 4 years of engineering, you would have done something that you can put up in those sections. All you need to do is just sit with a focused mind and figure out what all you did. I'm pretty sure you'll find something that you can put up there. All right. So you have questions on MCAT CoCubes, and all right, whoever is preparing for MCAT CoCubes, make sure that you do your paper well on time. All right, most of the times I see students are not able to finish these papers well on time. So keep practicing so that your speed is fast, and if you are stuck on a particular question, don't waste much time on it, especially if you are stuck on a technical question and you know that you're not aware of the concept. There's no point wasting time on it. Just move on to the next one so that at least you go through the complete paper. Okay. Difference between abstraction and encapsulation. I think we discussed it in one of our previous sessions. Abstraction and encapsulation are the two terms that students mostly confuse with. When you say abstraction, all you mean is that you are trying to show only the relevant details of a particular concept or a class to your viewer or programmer, and you're hiding the irrelevant details. That is abstraction. So when you do that through your class, you write all the fields and methods in the class, and then you access whatever you want to through the object of the class. That makes it abstraction. And encapsulation, as the name suggests, literal meaning, binding things together. So we are binding the data members and the methods, the functions, together into a class. That whole functionality of OOP that comes in picture in Java is called as encapsulation. Please talk about Python libraries. Raghav, I would have, but kind of focusing on Java in the session. If I plan to take any Python session anytime soon, I would definitely talk about Python libraries. I think those are the crux of what make Python. If you're good at Python libraries, you're good at Python generally. Does ethical hacking has future? Hacking always has a future. If you can tell them that you can break their code, you're good to go. Hacking is a good thing to be aware of, but yeah, quite a few jobs out there for ethical hacking, if I may say so rightly. But if you're good at it and if you like it, give it a go. So on that note, I would close off the session. If you have any topics that you would want to be addressed in the next section or session, like we did the static and final today, suggested by Shubhangi, please make sure to drop that in the comments and take the quiz. I really appreciate your responses on the quiz. It's good to see that how many of you do it right when you take the quiz. So yeah, do that. And anything else? Can you suggest some good resources for preparation and mock test of MCAT CoCubes? There are plenty good resources online. I think you can find out if you Google it. It struts out of scope now. Not exactly out of scope, but yeah, it's not generally being used these days in programming. Online technical test series of C and Java is not available at TalentSprint. Score more. How to prepare for programming written test. Harsha, I would really appreciate if you could raise this concern at the right forum. Just at the course, I think there are forums. Just drop in a pointer there. I'll make sure that I'll check it out there and help you with this. There should be test series of C Java available in there. Can you do Hadoop and big data basics and important things? Okay, they just Hadoop and big data. I'm not sure how many of you would benefit from that, but if yeah, like I said, most of you, please drop comments below with whatever topics that you want to cover up, so that we can decide on what majority of you would want to take up in the next session, and then we can go ahead from there. All right, so that's it. Where is the quiz? In the YouTube video, the description box you go to, you'll see the SurveyMonkey link. http://surveymonkey link you will be there. Just click on it, feed the details. I think it asks for some basic details like name and email ID or phone number, kind of those details. Fill that form up and you'll get the quiz. Once you answer the quiz, the right answers would be then emailed to you. You will not see the answers immediately, you will get it on your emails. All right. How to crack Dell aptitude test? I think watch Rohit Agarwal's aptitude session. That is the best way to crack any aptitude test, is what I can vouch for. So any aptitude related queries, just get on the session. I think next Friday probably would be the aptitude session. So get on there, you will get your aptitude questions answered. All right guys, good luck for the quiz and keep dropping your whatever topics you want to discuss, and then I'll see you in the next session. Bye bye.